Hi, it's Lori, and we're going to look at how to make a 3D layered mandala firework. Stay tuned. Here I'm going and picking through the images by just typing in firework and then selecting the two images that I want to use. Once they're in, I'm just going to reposition them and resize them. And then I'm going to select the one I want to start working on and duplicate it. Always use a copy. I'm going to grab the circle tool and change the color. I'm going to create a background for this firework to use as the back of my mandala. So I'm just clicking and duplicating the circles so that they are the background for. So now I'm going to work with that until all the pieces are touching and that the red covers the whole design except for the stars on the outside. Those are going to be independent. So I duplicated it, made a copy of it, so if I make a mistake or anything, I can go back and easily fix it without having to do a lot of work, and I may use that in the next layer. So now I want to decide what I want to cut out of this background. So here I'm just picking and deciding what I want to show through in my first layer. And I used the contour button over to the right bottom corner. So I used that little tool in the left-hand corner to make it smaller so I could see the whole design. Once I'm happy with that, then I'm going to slice it and then remove the pieces. So you know when you slice, there's two pieces that you need to remove. So now I'm happy with that layer. And I went ahead and made another layer out of the duplicate that I did, and I'm slicing it again. This time I removed all of the pieces, or left all the pieces in, sorry, and that became my next layer. So I have a bottom that's solid, red. The next one was white with some of the pieces taken out, and this blue one now has all the pieces taken out. Now I'm going to work on the firework. So I'm going to change the colors first. I duplicated it and then changed the colors, and I'm going to work on one at a time. So again, you just pick the pieces and make them big enough or small enough to fit behind. What I'm doing here is when you cut, you know that you want the pieces to be together. So for a mandala, if there's pieces that are not touching each other, you need to connect them. So I'm using the little triangle tool or square tool, made it into a triangle, and now I'm just working on connecting these bottom pieces so it's one solid piece to cut. And then we'll start working on, like we did the other piece, the background. So you just got to get it in there right, otherwise you'll have little pieces hanging over, which you can easily clean up when I'll show you in just a second. So this is the part that takes the patience the most, is just trying to get everything in the right place, in the right size, connecting everything, repositioning. So then when you're happy with it, you can weld it all together, and then you'll see that I have these little tiny pieces that are off to the side. Just because it just isn't going to make it perfect. So I'm repositioning again. I did an undo, sorry, up in the upper left corner, the little undo button, or you can hit Control Z and it will undo your last step. So once I was happy with that, I selected it. I did notice that I still had some more issues, so I decided to use a star and welded it to that area just to cover it up. Now you can use grids to fill in areas and create designs. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Just pick the grid, bring it in. You're going to resize it. And here I'm changing the color to see if that's something that I may like. Now I'm seeing that the holes aren't really going to do much for my design. I'm going to go ahead and try it anyways, but this is a little more tricky. And if you're not leaving many holes there for your Cricut to cut, the design's not going to add much to your mandala or however you pronounce it. Sorry if I'm doing that wrong. So now I'm just kind of seeing it's too big, so I'm just going to cut some of it off. So I sliced it out, repositioned it, kind of still looking to see if it's going to add anything to this design. I just made a copy and made it smaller for the smaller firecracker. So I went ahead and sliced it out, and I did not like it. Did not add anything. So I thought maybe on the bottom part. So it's just trial and error, but I wanted to show you that you can use grids or other designs and bring them in and then put them into your design. That's how a lot of the other designs have more detail. So I didn't like that, so I decided just to leave it as is. So I made a copy, and now I want to create that background, the bottom layer. So to do that, now I need to cover all the places to make it solid, like we did with the circles on the other one. And again, it's just trying to get these things fit in, make sure everything is covered, which this part's easy. The bottom part's a little bit more tricky with the flame. So I went ahead and welded that together, so that piece was done. So you could leave it like this with a hole at the bottom, but I wanted a solid background for my bottom piece. So I went ahead and picked another shape, made it smaller, and just kind of filled in the bottom portion until I couldn't see any more of the white. So again, this is just patience and trial and error. Just make sure that your piece is fully inside the red, or you're going to have the little pieces hanging over again. So this was a little tricky because the triangle tool was a little bigger, but you'll see that I got it working. So just little by little, just cover in those little white spots. Then resize them, move them, just to cover the rest of the white. Just takes patience to get it all. And when you get it all, then you just weld it all together. And you can see it just, you go back and you see a little bit more and you move a little bit more. And then when you get it all together, it's all welded and looks nice. So I'm going to change the color of this to the yellow because I want the back of the flames to be yellow. So I'm going to make the whole bottom layer yellow. See if I like that. So now I'm going to make another layer inside because I want, well, I've got two more layers. I think might do the red, white, and blue. So now I'm just deciding what needs to be white, what needs to be red, and what needs to be blue. So I want the red to be on top because I do like the red being bright. I did end up putting stars over that one area because of the little parts that were hanging over. Rather than just to try to keep taking them out, I just decided to put a star over it and then weld it all together. So now I'm just deciding, what colors, what layers. So now I got to decide what I want to do with the blue. If I make the whole thing blue, obviously that's going to cover everything, and I didn't like that. So I'll change the stars to blue. Thought that's still maybe not enough blue. So I was looking at the contour to see if there really was anything else I could do. Just trying different things. So now I have the stars that I could layer if I wanted to. So now I have the little stars. I contoured everything out except for the little stars so that I could layer those as well. So they'll have a more 3D effect. And now I'm going to work on adding blue to the tops just to give it a little more of a layered effect and bring in the blue. So I have the red, white, and blue. So I'm just selected my square and I'm going to slice out the parts that I don't want just to leave the top cap. And I'm just going to rotate that and move that over so I don't have to create another square. So I'll do that and then I'll slice it. And I made the square bigger just to cover all the little pieces that were there left over from the other one as well, so I don't, I can just delete them all at once. So now I have my caps, and I changed them to blue and put them over the top to see if I liked that look. And I thought it was pretty decent. So then what I did is I put everything together, and I noticed that I wasn't having enough red show through these layers, and I wanted the red on top. So I'm just going through and deciding what to do with all these layers. So I put the blue on the bottom for these guys, the white on top, sending it to the front, and then the red on top to see how it looks. And then align center them just to get a good idea. This is when I noticed that the star was just, everything was too white. There was too much white. So I decided to cut the star out of the white. So I went back to the contour on the white and put the star back in the middle. So I had to find it first. As you can see, you select and deselect, and you can see off to the left what you're affecting. So I didn't see the little star. I must have taken it out at some point. So I'm putting these two together from the original so I can grab that star and put it in the center. So I want to make sure they're lined up properly. And now I can see that star. So I'm just going to select the star and get rid of everything else. So you can hide all contours and then just pick the stars in the middle. I also selected the stars on the outside so I could give those another 3D effect too. So now I'm just slicing and taking the stars out of the middle and deleting the leftovers. I did delete the other stars, so. Okay, so now I'm putting the white on top of the blue and the red on top of the white. Bring the red to the front again to see if I like it. It looks much better, much more blue in there now. Then I just grouped them together so I could move them all together at once. Resizing the firework. So then I decided to add some text and decided on It's Independence Day. It reminded me of Martina McBride's song. Just centered it, placed it around, played with it a little bit to see where I wanted it. Looked at the mats now to see, and I noticed that my firework was a print then cut, so I need to change that. So I'm going to ungroup everything and I'm going to work on this. So I'm going to pull it all apart to see what parts are print then cut, because I'll have to change those. And you can see over onto the right, you can see where it says cut, print. So you need to change it. So I changed it to cut, and that's just pulling down that fill and changing it to no fill, and then selecting a color for your cut. So I'm doing that for each one that is a cut then print or print then cut. So if you scroll down on the right side, you can see if there's any more. And then I just looked at the mats to make sure that I had caught them all, and I did. So now I'm going to put them all back together again, align them, and put the caps back on and the stars back on. And then regroup them, put them back. Be sure to save it more often. And that's the final product. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please like and subscribe our channel so that you get notifications. Until then, have a great day. See you later.